Modern Commander Legends Horizons 2. Commander Modern Horizons. Modern Horizons, come on. Legends, whatever it's called. The new set has provided us with some big cards for Commander. Let's look at 5 ways that Modern Horizons 2 is changing the landscape of Commander and how it might continue to do so, and the video starts right now. Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who power our channel. Check out our Patreon for monthly giveaways, exclusive content, and even a starring role in our fan fight series. Link in the description below. Shop at TCG Player using our link in the description below and directly help our channel. Hello and welcome to the day. Thank you for spending your time with us. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. I am Joel. We're going to talk about the 5 ways that I think Modern Horizons 2 is changing Commander and how those designs might allude to what we're going to see in the future. But before we get into it, if you would, consider by the end of the video hitting that like button if you like the video and hitting that dislike button if you don't. Let's talk about these cards. Okay, the first card I want to talk about is Esper Sentinel, a 1-mana human soldier that's a 1/1 artifact creature. So we've got creature types across the board that are fantastic. Artifact creature, human, soldier, all relevant. It says whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player pays X, where X is Esper Sentinel's power. Right off the rip, we've got this like 1-tax version of Rhystic Study, and we know how ubiquitous Rhystic Study is in Commander. It also reminds me a little bit of Smothering Tithe. We're going with this taxing way of getting card advantage in white. And with a 1 CMC, I really think Esper Sentinel is going to be ubiquitous in Commander. It's not that hard either with humans and soldiers to raise the power level of Esper Sentinel, and that's just within the tribe. We can throw some equipment on Esper Sentinel, and that will raise the power as well. One of the biggest arguments against Esper Sentinel is that it's easy to deal with. It is just a 1/1 creature with no protection built in after all. But I look at cards like Mystic Remora that have a cumulative upkeep that are basically begging their controller to get rid of it off the battlefield. And I also see in Mystic Remora a widely played spell that results in a ton of card advantage. Esper Sentinel just being on the battlefield for turns like 1 through 4, 1 through 5 is going to be some great card advantage in a color that desperately needs it. WotC knows they printed a staple. We even saw Gavin tweeting about this card and how players were going to be rushing to their decks to find what card they were going to cut. This isn't brand new territory by any means. WotC has printed cards like Jeweled Lotus recently that they knew were going to be pretty staple-ish or ubiquitous in Commander. It's just a big deal that they continue to do so and are doing so within a set called Modern Horizons 2 and not Commander Legends 1.5, which is probably what it should be called. The next card I want to talk about is Garth One-Eyed. This is ridiculous. You've got Wooburg across the top for a 5/5 human wizard. You tap it to choose a card name that hasn't been chosen from among Disenchant, so destroying artifacts and enchantments. Brain Geyser, so you're drawing cards. Terror, you're destroying creatures. Shivan Dragon, you get a big creature. Regrowth to get stuff back into your hand. And Black Lotus to do, well, what Black Lotus does. This card's allowing you to play 106 cards in your EDH deck. Obviously, you can only cast those copies once, but that's still pretty incredible. The last time that we saw something similar was Companion in Ikoria, and we all know how that went, with a wonderfully cute little otter being banned immediately. I know that past that, Companions didn't really have a huge impact on EDH, but this card being your commander and having access to these abilities as soon as it's onto the battlefield, that's a pretty big deal. This is a brand new design space that hasn't been explored ever. We've got a card that is allowing you to cast copies of cards that aren't even at the table, let alone in your commander deck. How long until we get a design that says something like, when this creature enters the battlefield, put a token copy of the spell Shock into your hand? It could be Shock, it could be Doomblade, it could be Disenchant, it could be whatever. We're creating token copies of spells or copies of spells that don't exist. Garth One-Eye is sort of opening the door for that design space. After that are these Incarnations. These cards are ridiculous. We've got Solitude, which allows you to exile a white card from your hand to essentially play exile up to 1 target creature. That creature's controller gains life equal to its power for free. Also, it can also represent a body late in the game that allows you to do that when it ETBs. But the fact that it's a free spell and you can play it when you're tapped out, that's a big deal. We've also got Subtlety. When it enters the battlefield, choose up to 1 target creature spell or planeswalker spell. Its owner puts it on the top or bottom of their library, and it evokes for exiling a blue card from your hand, completely free. This means that now we as commander players need to not only be thinking, do they have Force of Will in their hand? Do they have a Pact in their hand when our opponents are tapped out? But now we need to be considering, do they have some sort of elemental incarnation that's going to hose me? It always is very widely played or broken when these kinds of spells come out. The whole design sort of leans towards CEDH. It's giving those players some great new toys to play with, but this is going to be seen in casual commander decks as well. I don't know, anytime I see a free spell like Jeweled Lotus, the Pacts, Force of Will, anytime I see a design like that, I know that it's going to become part of the consideration for a very powerful commander decks. After that, it's a land, and you know how powerful lands can be, and this one is incredibly powerful. It's Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth, and it's essentially a forest or green version of Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. They both say each land is a forest, in this case, in addition to its other land types. Urborg says swamps. And Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth is pretty strong and widely played in a lot of black decks. You've got a card like Cabal Coffers that can combine with Urborg to really ramp your mana in a color, black, that doesn't really allow you to do that. Now, at this time, with the commander availability of cards, we don't really have a super crazy 2-card combo to combine with Yavimaya to lead towards a victory strategy. However, when you look at cards like Beacon of Creation, a green and 3 for a sorcery speed to put a 1/1 green insect creature token into play for each forest you control, or you look at Blanchwood Armor, a green and 2 for enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each forest you control, that means that the design space exists, and the existence now of Yavimaya means that we're going to get more cards like this. I mean, how long until we see a card like Cabal Coffers, but you pay 2 tap to add a green for each forest you control? The existence of this land means that more powerful effects are going to exist in the future. I think that this card will be a staple for green decks for years to come. And at number 5, I want to talk about Grist the Hunger Tide. This is a crazy design. That middle bit of text, as long as Grist the Hunger Tide isn't on the battlefield, it's a 1/1 insect creature in addition to its other types. That means that you can put this card into your command zone, and legally this can be your commander. It's obviously not the first time that we've seen planeswalkers able to be commanders, but this is a backdoor way of getting there that has bigger implications. We've seen that with the graveyard, with exile, that card going there doesn't mean the end for that card. Grist, the way it's worded, when you cast it, then it dies, leave it in your graveyard, and you can recast it through a reanimation type spell to get Grist back onto the battlefield. But I think it even has design implications past that. How long until we get a spell that says when this instant or sorcery resolves, it goes to the command zone instead of any other zone? The fact that Grist is worded like this means that they are starting to explore that, and it could lead to some either very fun or potentially broken effects. When we started seeing the first Modern Horizons 2 cards, I think this is going to be a Commander Legends 1.5 set. I know that there are going to be some players that say, keep Commander out of my Modern Horizons set. And that's totally fair. But now I want to know what you think. Let me know down in the comments what you think of Modern Horizons exploring all of this Commander design space. If you like this video, consider checking out our other videos and hitting that subscribe button down there. It really helps us out. Other than that, I'm tapped out, and I'll catch you later.